our abuelas and our moms are the first, like, most like eco-friendly people. They be reusing all the things.
Exactly.
You don't know if you are going to open a tin of cookies or a sewing kit.
Literally, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sabrosura pa' ti que.
Welcome back to Café con Pam. El día de hoy tenemos una conversación with Ann Dunning. Anne was born in Viña del Mar, Chile, and she grew up in the US, where she built a thriving life in Silicon Valley and even became an angel investor. Pero a move to the campo, to the rancho, shifted everything, inviting her to unlearn hustle culture and reconnect with balance, nature, and, of course, ancestral wisdom. Ahora, she lives at the Vamigas rancho with her family and all of their animales, studying herbalism and co-authoring Radical Señora Era, her book. En este episodio, ustedes van a poder aprender 3 things. Number 1, cultural identity and heritage. Anne shares her journey from Chile to the US, and she highlights the challenges and emotional aspects of immigration, which is such a topic nowadays. And you can learn about the importance of cultural roots and how they shape our personal identity, as well as the emotional complexities involved in leaving one's homeland. Número dos, she also talks about overcoming anxiety and her fear of flying. And we talk about our own experiences of anxiety and how various actually coping mechanisms and how humor actually sometimes helps with managing all of the things when it comes to strategies for coping with fears. Y número tres, we talk about redefining traditional roles and, of course, embracing that Señora Era that their book is about. So we dive deep into the concept of Señora Era, where traditional roles are redefined to include both career ambitions and a home life, porque why not? And we also talk about how balance reflects a unique cultural dichotomy that Latinas, us, deal with all the time. So, here you're going to learn about embracing multiple identities, the value of integrating cultural traditions with modern life, and owning it. Because why not? So, we talk about her book, Radical Señora Era. No lo puedo decir en inglés y en español porque está como en los dos. Siempre me trabo. And it's really good. Bueno, sin más, aquí está mi conversación with Ann Dunning. Ann, welcome to Café con Pam.
Thank you so much, Pam. I am so excited to finally meet you.
I know, same. This has been in the works for a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
We almost did this in person.
We know. They know.
But,
that would have been cool.
next time we'll do it in person.
Next time you're going to have to help me clean my chicken coop.
I know. Next time I'm going to have to come prepared to do like outdoor chores, señora chores.
Oh my goodness, that's right.
So, Ann, the question we always start with is, what's your heritage?
Yes, soy chilena, de Viña del Mar. I came here when I was 9. We settled in Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley, the 818.
Did you know you were coming to move?
Yes, but my parents told me that we were only coming for 5 years. So, yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Years later.
Yes, because we left all our grandparents behind, so it was really hard. And my parents were really young. They had me when they were, almost like teenagers, and so my grandparents raised me. So it was really hard leaving them. And so,
wow,
my parents were like, "Don't worry, we'll be gone for 5 years, and then maybe we'll come back." And then here we are. I'm 46, so
still here.
Exactly.
But you've been able to go back.
Yes, yeah. I visit. At one point, I was visiting my family once a year, which was nice.
But Chile's like far. How many hours?
Oh my gosh, yes. So when I first started flying, when I first came here in '88, it took like 20 hours.
It's like going to Europe.
Exactly, literally. And now, so it's sort of like been shrinking, and now I could go. It's anywhere between 11 to a 15-hour flight.
I mean, still a trek.
Yeah, still. Yeah. And I'm afraid of flying, so that makes it
no way.
Yes, that makes it hard for me. Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you cope?
Sometimes just wine. I just like drink wine.
Okay.
And yeah, and then or I just I white knuckle it, and I put on a bunch of podcasts.
Okay.
Café con pan podcasts.
Yeah, you like listen to things to like soothe you. And
Exactly.
have
Exactly.
you ever worked on that? Like pure flying?
No, no, and it's gotten worse as I gotten older. So
Really?
I think after I had my baby, well, she's now 5. It got worse because now when I fly with her, I catastrophize. So I all these anxieties come into my head. I'm like, and they're
And now you
doubling
have a
back.
child.
Exactly. So I'm like, oh my God, am I going to have to, do like an emergency landing? And now I have a child, and are we both going to survive? So I definitely catastrophize.
Fascinating. My mom was a flight attendant
Oh, really? Oh
for,
my goodness.
yeah, for a
That's a
long,
dream
long time.
career. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so I've been flying since I was born, basically.
So lucky.
And, you know, like airplanes were like second nature to me.
That's so cool.
And, but there was a point in my life when for some reason, started getting anxiety because I was flying a lot.
Yeah.
I was in a long distance relationship for a decade. And so I was flying every twice a month
Yeah.
to go see him. And I also was traveling for work. And so I don't know if it was the, the constant exercise of just getting on planes all the time, and that's maybe what gave me anxiety. Eventually it went away because I was like, what are you like, what, it's more dangerous to get in a car than
Yes.
on an
Yeah,
airplane,
exactly.
like.
Exactly.
And so like I worked through it. That's why I asked if you've ever worked on it, because in my case it was a borrowed fear. Because what happened is that during the pandemic there was nobody was flying. I was still flying because I had to go see I didn't have to, but I wanted to go see my partner. And so the planes were pretty empty.
Okay.
They had to like make a spread in the whole airplane because there wasn't enough people to balance the weight.
Wow.
And so I remember one time, he used to live in Denver. And so I don't know if you've ever flown in or out of Denver. It's when you fly through the Rockies, like inevitable, like it's the choppiest
Turbulence.
airport I've ever flown in and out of, because the Rockies, like there's so much like pockets of air in the mountains, and like, so I know flying in and out of Denver, it's always going to be like a roller coaster. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But there was a person during one flight that he was white knuckling the seat. Like it was just like a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh. And my empath in me
Yeah.
was like, I feel his anxiety. Like it was just so much. Like he was sweating. Like I felt so bad for him.
Goodness.
And after that, I started getting anxious.
Wow.
And so then I went to go back and like, I did my own inner work, and I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, this is just not normal.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had borrowed his anxiety and I had no reason to be anxious for.
Wow.
Yeah.
My
And
goodness. He
so,
gave you that energy. Like he gave you that.
uh-huh.
My
And so I
goodness.
decided to take it as a very eldest daughter, like independent. I was just, my body was just like, let me just take that from you, because I felt bad for him. And then I started carrying it, which was just so nonsense. So every time I see people that are like, I'm afraid of, like, I don't like flying, I'm like, let's explore why.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's probably because of the flight that took me here. Maybe it was like, it was just the saddest flight. And like my parents came here,
Mm,
my mom came here first, my dad came here first, and then a year later my mom came, and then a year later we came. So I was without my dad for like 2 years and without my mom for 1 year.
wow.
So airports have always been sad, like very
Totally.
sad and anxious for me, and anxious for me. So
Totally. I once also heard from a pilot, because I flew so much out of Denver.
yeah.
One time we were flying out, and the pilot was great because he was like, all right, everyone, we are in Denver. Just so you know, those of you who's your first time, this is going to be choppy. We're going to move so much. We're going to go through some clouds. I'll do my best to make it as smooth as possible, but it's inevitable. Anytime we fly through the Rockies, we're going to get some bumps. Just so you know, as soon as we go through them, you'll be fine, and smooth sailing. And you could hear the gasp
Oh my
in,
goodness.
like, after he said that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that he said is, I just want you all to remember that as your captain on flight, I want to get home as much as you do. So I'm going to do my best to get you home,
Yeah.
you know. And so that also gave people a lot of relief,
That's really nice. That's really
just to think that your pilot also wants to get home. They're not on purpose going through bumps and
like yeah, yeah, like bumping the
roller coastering it. Yeah.
oh, that's
So,
wonderful.
okay. Anyway, that was like a super long, like, I don't know. ¿Cómo se dice?
Turbulence. No.
Yes, that was a very long turbulence. So, and you wrote a book with your friend Christina Kelman
I did, yes.
called Radical Señora Era. And all of this, speaking of planes, I don't know if we're going to make a connection, but maybe we will. You basically drank the Kool-Aid, it looks like. So, and also, Christina's not here to talk about it, but that's basically the book. What the book is about is talking about how you went with the story of we need to quote lean in, and I
Yeah.
love when you talk about Miss Cheryl
Yeah.
and how you drank the Kool-Aid and was like, let me just lean on all in.
Yep.
How was the moment when you said, which you describe in the book, but tell us when you were like, this is not it.
Yeah. Gosh, I think it was what it happened, I think, during the pandemic because I had just had my first child and I was 40, so I was an older parent. Originally figured, okay, I'm just gonna take a 2 weeks off work and then I'll just go right back, to doing my hustling in San Francisco. And and just as a little bit of a backdrop, so I do public relations. I had a small PR agency. Um, and so I worked with a lot of tech companies. And so what happened is that sort of ended up becoming my entire identity. And I didn't realize it until when the pandemic came and I was a new mom and there was no work, there was nothing, like everything was just out the window. And I was like, oh my God, who am I? What is going to make me excited? Like, who am I really outside of work? What kind of a person am I? Like, what do I love? What are my hobbies? I had no hobbies. Everything was just about work. And I had sort of I love that you said drink the Kool-Aid because it really very much was a startup Kool-Aid. It was like very much like, everywhere there was an old hashtag, which was, working or my office today, and you'd be on vacation and you'd be working, and that was like a cool thing, you'd get kudos,
Yes.
right? Exactly. And that was very much startup culture. And so I think my moment was during the pandemic, and I was like, who am I? Who am I outside of work? And that was hard for me to answer, and it took a bit. It took like a bit, and Christina was kind of going through it. She had gone through it previously, and so we kind of helped each other in getting out of that mindset of that like hustle culture. Work is our life. Work is our gives us our confidence, and work is everything sort of mentality. That's how we got out of it, I think.
How did you decide you wanted to write a book?
So Vamigas was doing great. We're like, let's pitch a book. We had created a community because we went viral on TikTok. So, we started going viral. Like we had all these videos get to like 3 million views, and it was all about the Senora era, entering your Senora era, right? So I wrote in the book that we started our TikTok with like 100 followers for our beauty brand. But the reason why we went viral is not because of our beauty products. It was because we started talking about our Senora eras.
Yes.
And we created this community of like over 50,000, amigas and millions of views. And we're getting comments, and the engagement was incredible. We're like, let's pitch a book. And so we pitched a book. We're like, what would our new friends like to hear about? And we're like, let's pitch like a kind of like a cookbook with like DIY, home and garden projects and some baking because I'm a horrible cook. And so we went to publishers, and one of the publisher, well, okay, so we went to a bunch of agents, and one of the agents was like, I'm not an agent anymore, but I work at this publishing house. We want your book, but it's too like we want your book, but as long as it's not a picture book, we need your life stories. And we're like, oh my goodness, our life stories. So then we had to kind
Yeah.
of shift. We're like, okay, if we want this book deal, we had to talk about our stories. And that's how that kind of came about. It sort of started out as kind of like a life cookbook, like a home and garden picture book, and then ended up as a little bit of that and a lot more.
I do like the format because it does have like the storytelling piece, and then you give us the Senora rules, and then like there's recipes. When I got to that place, I was like, wait, I want to make that bun. And there's so many that I was like, I want to make this. Radical Senora Home Secret number 5, reuse like a senora, which this is something that I was recently invited to Ecomadres to a panel, and we talked about the panel that I was on was called Climate Chisme,
Oh my
and
gosh.
we talked about how we through Latinos through storytelling we can actually bring in more awareness to sustainability and eco-friendliness and like awareness around climate change.
Yeah,
And one of the things that I said is our abuelas and our moms are the first, like most like eco-friendly people. They be reusing all the things.
exactly.
You know, you don't know if you are going to open a tin of cookies or, you know, a sewing kit.
Literally, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think I love that you put this home secret of reusing, because it's something that probably I'm going to make an assumption, but you tell me if you feel the same. When we were younger, we're like annoyed at
Yes,
that at the reusing, you know, but now we be doing it too.
exactly. 100%. Yeah. Yes.
So the senora is like arriving to us.
100%. Yeah, that's one of the signs when you're reusing and not call it, but you never called it reusing before. It was just what grandma did or great
Totally.
grandma. Yeah, and it's so useful, and it's funny because it's like as I was writing the book, it kind of hit me, and this is so like common sense, but I just wasn't thinking about it like that. It's like, oh my god, what we're doing now is so different, and it's so weird, and it's so not what people have been doing for the last hundreds of years. So what we're doing now is really weird. Like, it's like, so there's these sort of strategies that our abuelas and our bisabuelas were using that people had been using for hundreds of years. And it's just really nice to kind of get a little bit of that back.
Totally. And that's the other thing that I loved is that you in the book you talk about what a senora is and what a senora isn't. Because I think to your point of our abuelas were dealing with this or were doing these things hundreds of years ago, they were also suffering a lot. You
Yes.
know, they were also self ¿cómo se dice en inglés? No sé. Se abnegaban, you know, like selfless, and they would just like give themselves without like taking care of them. So I love that you're redefining and reclaiming the word senora in a way that's like, yes, we're gonna make our teas and we're gonna air our beds and we're gonna reuse whatever we need to reuse, but also we have careers and also we at the same time we embrace the slow life. That's really fun,
Yeah.
which I think it's what attracted to your viral TikToks to most of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think part of that is because, so in the broader culture, so like in sort of like non-Hispanic American culture, there's sort of like there's two opposites and there's nothing in between. I mean, and I'm talking like mass media, right? So people right now are, for example, talking about the trad wives, right? And it's these like sort of like women who are pushing like this like alt-right thing with their like, and white supremacist things with like their home content, right? And then on the other side, there's like, there's feminism, right? And then the way that they talk about the sort of general American culture talks about these is they're polar opposites. But I think our culture is a little bit different because we I mean we are like feminists and but we also like like we love like the home and like some of us love baking and like I just feel like we look at that sort of like range with like a cultural eye that's so much different than the way that other cultures talk about it. Like for us, it's like it's just normal to be like, oh yeah, I love cleaning the house on Saturday mornings. It's like my soothing
With
thing. But
songs.
I have a business. Yeah, exactly. But I also have a small business. Or I'm also a boss babe who gets up on Monday and goes to high rise in San Francisco. So
Right.
we have both of those, and it's interesting that the broader culture doesn't or hasn't gotten to that point yet.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's this very unique dichotomy that it's almost a reflection of who we are as Latinas. No? Like often we hear de aquí de allá y de todos lados or ni de aquí ni de allá, no, whatever, whichever one you want to adopt. which is also that way of existing of both worlds, sometimes multiple worlds, because we don't, like, you could have one parent from one place, another parent from a different place, and even those cultures could be different. Like, you from Chile, yo soy from Mexico, and we have very different cultures, even though we can both speak the same, like, there's similarities, but there's also differences. And so this Senora status persona, or I would maybe even venture to say archetype,
Yes.
it's a very much a reflection of the multiple dichotomies that we come, or the dichotomy, because I'm using the word wrong, the dichotomies of existing in the fast-paced world of the US
Mhm.
and the slowness of our homelands,
Exactly.
which then I'm bringing chronomics into the picture, which is, the study of time and communication, and how we're able to navigate both.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure if we, like, right now you're living in your rancho in in Southern California, but if we take you, if Anne was going to go back to Silicon Valley, you can, like, pick it up right back up.
Mhm.
You can get fast again.
Yeah.
And then when you get home back into your with your chickens and all the things, you can bring back that slowness. And to your point, I think it's a superpower that we have to be able to code switch in that way.
100%. Yep. Yep.
How fun.
And I think in some ways too, and I mean, I don't want to generalize, but in many ways, our grandmothers and our great grandmothers were in that space where, yes, there was like, I mean, they were in a world of men, right? They were in like hyper patriarchy, right? And I mean, and actually, some of the history that I read, um, that like about how women had to sort of live in this man's world in Latin America. It was like, it went so far as like, there was a point when women couldn't go outside because outside was considered men's world and inside was considered a women's world. So it was weird to go
Yeah.
outside. But
Wild.
even through that, like even though they had that, there was still though this sort of like um, like everyday life where our grandmas or great grandmas were volunteering, or they were like, my grandma was like a nurse at one point and then she was like a teacher. Like, it was just like a normal thing to sort of go out in the community and be leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Like many of them were leaders, they were community leaders. And I think that's because our culture is very, I want to say it right, matriarchal. Our culture is matriarchal.
100%.
We honor the woman, we honor the older woman in particular, when many other cultures around us don't. And it's the opposite. So I think because of the fact that our culture is matriarchal, we kind of like our kind of grandmas got a pass. 'Cause, like they were bosses, right? That they were still kind of bosses, even though, even they were living among this patriarchy.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I talk about calladita culture,
Yes.
and I think our grandmas didn't have the tools to overcome the wounds of calladita culture. Yet, even without that, they were still running houses. They were still raising children. They were still, like a kitchen operates like a business. You have to have your inventory. You have to have, you have to have your finances in check. You have to pay your bills. Otherwise, if you don't have gas, you can't cook. Like, it's a whole thing. And yeah, I agree. We are naturally very matriarchal. And now I think our generation is bringing that to the forefront in a way that we're owning it and we're honoring. And in your book, you do it in so many ways, because that you both of you went back and explored your history, and you went back and were like, let's look at the lineage and the women that we come from. How healing was that for you?
I mean, it was pretty mind blowing for me, but I think particularly for Christina. So for myself, I was lucky enough to meet my great grandmother and to hang out with her like on weekends. So I experienced a little bit of that like era that they had 100 years ago, right? So I
Mm,
still went to like her little like colonial like you know house and like her tiny village, and I was able to I was able to sort of remember that and remember my experiences with her. And but I almost feel like I had forgotten how like significant that was to my life and to my and how much it influenced me. And so I think in many ways it kind of like reinvigorated me to remember and to write down and to ask all my tios and my tias and my mom to like fact check me, and like it
mm,
was just it kind of like gave me like um this sort of like vibe where now, I'm like, okay, I'm going through a hard time or whatever, like I'm, something happens in at work or in the kitchen, I'm like, what would my it's like I kind of get like a flashback to like, okay, what would my great grandma do or what would my grandmother advise me, right? And I didn't really have that before. So that was really powerful.
Mm.
For Christina, I think it was a little bit more powerful, even because she's third generation, and her father. So her dad was Mexican American. He passed away when she was little, and so she did not have too much of sort of like connection to her Hispanic family. Um, and what she dug was amazing, and it's just she just sort of found out that like her great grandmother was like this leader, this community leader, and she started like these Mexican restaurants in San Francisco, and so it really kind of gave her this complete you know like like a beautiful perspective on her background and what it how all of that had led to who she is now and her personality and certain quirks even
Yes.
and it's what's interesting too is that me and her always find that we're very similar. Even though I'm first gen, she's third gen. She's Mexican American. I'm Chilean American. There's so many similarities in the way that we think, the way that like just like our vibes are, and so that's another thing too that like that was one of the things that you said that across. Across sort of first, second, or third, and across countries, like we're all very similar in some very basic ways.
Yes. Yeah. And we can sit down and eat food and have conversations. You're like, you too? Type thing. Yeah, for sure. I love that. So I have so many questions. We're running out of time. This is, oh my gosh. Okay. So before the book came, you two were friends and you launched a beauty line. So how do these, which we're kind of like flipping, I'm asking this after you've explained it, but you launch a beauty brand, you started going viral. That kind of like led into the Senora thing that you were like, let's just write a book about it. And what, like, I'm curious about I don't want to use the word balance, but the balance
Yeah.
of running your beauty business, living your Senora era, and writing the book.
Yes.
How did you manage that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely hustle, like a hustle era. Like it was definitely like 6 years ago. It was so, and it was funny because we did talk about this. Like me and Christina had talked about like we're like, oh my God, like we're writing a book about slowing down, but we're like we've got deadlines. Like we got like a million deadlines.
Yes.
So one of the people that I interviewed for our book. I'm forgetting her name, but I'll give you her name after, so maybe we can add her to the
Hmm.
description. So she is Latina, PhD and doctor, and she focuses on sort of like the psychology of the workplace, and she specializes in Latinas. And one of the
I remember reading
yeah,
that.
yeah, and one of the things that she told me was, and actually, I asked her about this, like, how do you deal with moments of crisis at work, or moments when you have deadlines, and when you have to do these big projects? And she's like, well, you know, uh, she kind of, and what she told us was she looks at these projects as like hustle sprints, and so sometimes you need sort of to create boundaries, to create sort of like a hustle sprint and go as hard as you can, but also you need to know when to stop, and you need to have like boundaries, and you need to know how to recharge between those moments of hustle. She called it kind of like a controlled fire, like a controlled burn. You know how like firefighters like controlled burns in the campo. So like control your energy, and that's how she says we could get through these sort of like moments when hustle is needed.
And it makes me think of my own grandma and watching them, because I was also raised by my grandmother, because my mom was a flight, she was flying all the time.
Oh yeah.
And so she would just drop me off my grandma at my grandma's house, and then I would live there for a week. In fact, my I went to school in my grandma's neighborhood
Oh my
because I was
goodness.
there so much more.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as you mentioned that, I'm like, they were modeling it the whole time, because my grandma would wake up super early, and she would like, this is like a daily like barrer, trapear, like everything would get done in the house every day. Which now I'm like, how dirty am I that I do this like,
Same.
every 3 days, once a
Yeah.
week? Like, she would like sweep every day.
Yes, totally. I remember that.
I know. And so that was like the routine, right? Like she would get up and start doing the chores and like sweep and mop and do all the things, and breakfast and lunch and like kitchen stuff. But then like 6 p.m. would come around, and it was the novela time,
Yes,
you know?
exactly. Yes,
Feet would come up. She would be like, don't talk to me because I done with my tasks.
exactly.
If you're hungry, you know where to find stuff. If you need anything, I'm off. And so I think they were always modeling boundaries, even though they lived in this machismo marianismo time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think for mine, for my grandma, it was tecito time. It was like, I'm gonna just, we
Yes.
just get ready, and like, you wouldn't catch her doing any like housework. Yeah, so like she would get up every morning and she would put on like her little like cap and like a little apron, and she would do it like, turn on the music and sweep and do all these kinds of things that I should be doing now, but I don't. Like, I don't know what, how do I learn? I have no idea. And then yeah, like at around a little after lunch, it was like nap time, and then tecito time, and then she would just listen to her radio. Yep. So I
Yeah.
completely agree. Yes, it was. They all had some very strong boundaries. I think part of that is because, I mean, like a big part of that is American, like the sort of American perspective around work, and how after the 1960s, like work was sort of like, work kind of had to be your whole life. And then,
Hmm.
around the pandemic, everybody started taking their work home with them, right? Or actually around when personal computers were
Right.
launched, everybody could just do their work at home, right? So I think we lost a lot of that in this country, that sort of downtime, that ability to.
For sure. Which I think, I mean, you tell me if you agree, when you go to Latin America, like an immediate, your body slows down.
Yes, yes,
It's like, it's almost like our lungs can actually breathe and we're not rushed by a deadline or like, you know, whatever definition of success we may have. It's kind of wild.
exactly. And even, and I'm sure you have this too. So it's like, I'm sure you see this too with your family. Like, our cousins could be like lawyers or whatever, doctors, and they're still like, they're not working. Like, they're in tech. I have cousins who are in tech,
Yes.
but they stop at 4 or 5 p.m. They're like, okay, I'm gonna go have some cafecito. It's not
Hmm.
so different than the way that we live our lives here.
Yeah, then the hustle that's here. And the other thing that's funny that as you mentioned that, I was talking to my brother about this because he lived in Mexico City. We're from Mexico City, so he lived there for many, many, many years, and so all his friends are still there. He's here now, and the other day he was like, because I my mom asked him about one of his friends, and he was like, well, he's there, but I've tried to schedule a call with him for like the last month or so, and he's just like, he's just flaking. And I was like, wait a minute. He's from, like, he's your childhood friend. You've known him for the 30 years of your life that you've lived, like literally. How, think about when you were there, how was it that you talked to him? And so he paused and he's like, you just pick up the phone and you call. And
Yes,
I'm like, yeah, dude, like you are expecting him to adapt your American way of living, of like scheduling it
totally.
and, like putting himself on your calendar when he's not going to do
Oh,
that,
yeah, that's why.
And he was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And so this is kind of like, I was like, just give him a call. Like, if you want to talk to him, give him, like, he's not gonna like be like, send me your Calendly.
Totally.
We don't do that,
Like, put in the
like,
calendar. Like, no, no.
totally. So that kind of like gave him some perspective to be like, yeah, it's a very different lifestyle.
How funny. Yeah.
For him, it would be like Senor
Yeah.
Era, I
Yes.
guess.
His Senora Era. Yeah, we're gonna have to bring that back at some point too.
I
Senora
think
Eras.
so. I think so. And so tell us everything Vamigas, Radical Senora Era, the book. Where can we find you? Where can we find all the things?
It's okay. So our HQ is our TikTok where we went viral and we do a bunch of stuff there. That's Senora. So our handle is Senora.era. So it's TikTok /Senora.era. And then if you are on Instagram, visit us at Radical Senora Book and Rancho Vamigas. Those are our two Instagrams. And then our website is senoraera.com, where folks can sign up for a newsletter. We send out a really fun newsletter every Friday where with like Senora hacks, Senora tips, cool products that we find, cool, amazing articles like wellness articles and how to age well, whether you're 20 or 40, yeah, that's where people can find us.
And what's happening with Vamigas?
Okay, so Vamigas is slowing down. We left retailers and we're only selling on our website. Christina will like her advice to sort of founders is own your own your sort of like platforms and own your community as much as you can, because the minute that you go into a retailer, you lose a lot of that control and you lose a lot of that money too. It's very, very expensive. So people should expect to have coffers. People should expect to have a lot of money to enter retailers, because stuff could happen.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's a podcast
Yeah.
with both of you to talk about
100%. Mm-hmm.
choosing to
Yep.
pause a beauty brand.
Exactly.
It almost, I mean, first of all, we're done with this one, but I think it's worth mentioning how the beauty industry is driven by Latinas. It's a fact.
Yes.
And so, as Latina founders with a beauty brand, choosing to slow it down, ooh, that's a good loop that you're leaving us hanging with.
Yep.
Let's bring you back. Talk about that.
I would love that. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And we'll have all the links in the show notes, so people can find them and they don't have to like try to write them down real quick if you're walking the dog or whatever.
Yeah.
But Anne, thank you so much for coming to Cafe Con Pam. Definitely everyone get your book. I mean, I have all my notes that we obviously didn't get to, but the book is great. I love the recipes. I love the storytelling. I really enjoyed the similarities that are mentioned and seeing myself reflected. It's always fun to see more Latina authors that write stories that resonate. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That it means a lot to me that you read the book, and I love being on your podcast. So thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure, please share with a friend, discuss it later, drop a comment, like, subscribe. That helps the channel a lot and it helps us grow. And so other people can find us and other people can find our stories, which I do believe they're so important for all of us to hear, that we are creating awesome things and we are doing incredible, just so many things. So muchas gracias for being here. Nos vemos en la próxima. Stay shining.
Sabrosura pa' ti que